All right, welcome. Thank you, everybody. This is a special co-stream that we do every single Wednesday. We got Brian White here from Future Ozza. Check out his channel. We're streaming there as well. Nick Gibbs is not with us today, but something important is happening. We'll maybe share that shortly. And then we have special guest here today is Brian Wang from Next Big Future. Thank you so much for joining us. The two Brians. How do I refer to you guys?
We discussed this before. We determined I'm the evil twin because of the facial hair, but you can call us both Brian W. or the future guy. So
Yeah, they're both the same. Future outside, next week future.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's a. Okay, I'm always on. You're always white.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know what Wang's. I don't know what Wang's doing. Okay, so let's get started with the stock. Obviously, this is very interesting. What's happening this week? Right now, today, it's up by $13, 3%, $430.39. In the last 5 days, this is what it popped up even as high as 444 here on Monday.
But really, yeah, do the month, do the 6 months, do them all.
I will. Yeah, you got it. Don't worry.
I get excited.
Yeah, the month it jumped up from, let's say, 347 to where we are today. In 6 months, it's a steady climb, but there's a bit of a jump right here. And of course, year to date, it fell from the highest. We've been at 428. And of course, I think the highest was actually December 17th of last year, when it was closer to 487, 488, some people say, depending on how you measure it. So we are now at let's call it 440 to 480, or $40 away from all-time highs. This is all-time highs.
Right.
So Brian Wang, what's been going on? What's happening?
So I think mainly it is that the technical trading gives us insight to what's happening. So we had that previous thing, we were stuck for a month, 2 months at 350, 360. We keep hitting, bumping up against that top number. People would not pay more than 350, that the news wasn't quite good enough for them to do it. So then he would fall away. It was like hit 350, fall away, hit 350, fall away. And then finally it broke through after multiple attempts. I think similarly, and I mentioned this, with Randy Kirk and I was talking about it, that 440 seems to be the new 350. That basically we hit it, we go and going a little bit above, like going like $2-3 above, and then losing it after a couple of hours is not a full breakout. Like you want to have, full day, and then even if you break out for a day or two, it can be a false breakout if it falls back below. But fundamentally, it is that the news is not quite good enough. That people are really excited about the stock. They say, oh, the number of cars we're going to make and reveal October 2nd is going to be really, really good. All the various information from China, other places is looking really good, US sales, etc. So we're waiting on that good news, but people are thinking, is that good enough for me to continue to bid it up, or can I just wait? Again, if I fall away, I can say, I don't have to buy it at 440. I can wait until 420 or 430, right? Before it was at 350 and they think, oh, it's going to drop down to 320. So people are in that range where it's like, I'm excited. I'm not going to, sell out, but I'm not quite convinced we're going to the next level. So we've gone up one level, but we haven't gone, or even like two. We haven't gone up to the all-time highs and beyond level of confidence that we have. So that's how I interpret what's happening.
And then I think as I ask the same question to as many people as possible, the jump that had happened, what percentage of that is because people think that a Q3 deliveries is the driver, the catalyst, or what percentage of that is that Robo Taxi is real and we're following it? Tesla's a physical AI company. I'd say that 50% of institutional analysts refer to the auto deliveries, and 50% say, hey, I'm excited about the future.
I think actually there's some other things that were pretty big in getting it through 350, which was Elon buying $1 billion worth in the open market, which was the biggest signal of a CEO buying his own shares, I think, ever. Like in open market purchase, that was like the biggest one ever. So that was a huge signal, because that's in terms of like stock analysts. It's like, is the CEO committed? Is he signaling that he believes in the company? A monster signal is, I'm buying $1 billion worth, right? So I think that's a huge deal. And then the general thing is, on some of the operational side, the car stuff is looking pretty good. Whether it gets to 500,000, 490, 520, it's up again to better levels. It's not deteriorating, right? And then we have the potential of compact Y, stripped down Y, other things could kick it up. And then floating there for December and Q1 is potential launch and ramp of some volume of cyber caps, right? So that car stuff is looking good, energy is looking good. So there's no, and then Robo Taxi is looking good. Again, exact month is unclear, but we seem near. So there's no, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to say there's, the old adage, don't bet against Elon,
Yeah.
but that's not enough. Betting against him is a very small thing to do. What if you could bet with him? What if you could get in on all of his companies at the first round of funding? My goodness, the license to print money that would be. We can't.
Yeah.
But when we see him investing in something
Yeah.
like $1 billion in Tesla,
Yeah.
we can bet with him.
Right.
We can see what he's doing and go, yeah, me too.
Right.
And if you did that, if you saw him do that and you put your money in, you are up.
Right. And the other thing is, I believe that Elon's purchases are not over. That I believe through 2026, from now through 2026, I think May 2026, that he will buy more.
Why?
So the reason being is that the tranches of his 2025 CEO pay package, which I expect to get approved November 6th, right? That's when we have the vote. People should have voted, and then they're gonna have that pay package, which says that in the news, the $1 trillion pay package thing. In that pay package, he has to buy shares at the price that the pay package was initially
The restricted
formed at.
shares was 334.
334, right? So it's not free. He has to buy it at 334, right? But if he says, I know, I'm so confident buying shares now, is that I'm confident next year I'm going to get tranche 1, tranche 2, or something like that, which means $2 trillion is $620 of per share price, and the one after that, 2.5 trillion, which would be another 25% above that, which would be like 770 or something, right? So if he says, I'm going to hit those for sure at the end of next year, and I want to have even, to jump the gun on it, because I know that's in the bag, right? So then I could buy more now, and one that gives me at a price not that far off from 330, right? Relative to the logarithmic thing of it, I'm going to send it to triple or quadruple, right? So me getting it now, and he has extra cash available because him doing fundraising rounds of XAI, $200 billion valuation, raising some money. So he could be paying, divesting himself, like going from like 60% down to 50%, 10% of that. Some of this dilution, some could be him actually using it as a piggy bank to cash the money out. So he's building. The other thing is that he can just take his SpaceX and XAI shares and then, or Tesla shares, and then get loans against them at a very conservative rate of like 10, 25%, right? So he can have a lot of cash. And then if he believes, hey, I want to get not just 33% share ownership, if all these things come through, up my 13, 14% now, is that if I'm going to front load over the next 6 years, I should do it in 2026 before I send it on epic run, right? So, and if I got cash, and unlike say before, when like 6, 7 years ago, Elon was more cash poor and could only buy 10, $50 million. He can load up with 50 billion in cash and then do that. The other massive point where he could get a huge amount of cash would be if he IPOs Starlink from SpaceX, say the end of next year. Then if SpaceX right now, the $400 billion goes up to 600 billion to $1 trillion as they build up Starlink. And he says, okay, now I IPO, right? He has 50 some percent. He says I sell off, 5%, 10%, right? On $1 trillion, that could be 50 billion to $100 billion, right? So then he'd have like loads of dry powder to do all kinds of stuff, which he said before, and I don't count him at that word, saying that he would, when he was selling off shares in Tesla, he said that he would reward shareholders and he'd buy back in. So him doing that would be a good thing. And also, as now going forward, because he has this pay package where he needs the market cap to be good, him buying dips and saying, I disagree. I think this you guys have sold off too much. I'm going to buy in. It helps sustain the stock price, prevent it from going crazy, and put the kind of floor on it, which I think, yeah. So I think that is two reasons.
I think your logic is sound. I mean, his milestones for his 2025 CEO compensation plan is market cap is the main one, plus all these operational milestones. So you want the market cap to hit 2 trillion. You want it to go to 2.5. You want it to go to all these market caps, so he can do that. And then $1 billion there for him is nothing, right?
Right.
It's nothing. And it would be cool if he sold 44 billion to buy Twitter. He can put back, I say, hey, I bought $44 billion.
Right.
But also the other argument is he doesn't need to. I mean, he already has 15, eventually 29% of the company. These are tiny little, a little bit Billy here, Billy there, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
your argument about he's going to make money out of this, that doesn't fly to me. I don't think that's such tiny little things for him, relatively.
Right.
Except that I'm going to, while I find a lot of the speculation to be very speculative, I will agree with Brian that if the market cap is an objective, then controlling wild downward swings is a big chunk of it.
It's amazing.
And
It's a
if
good
he's
point.
buying it at what he considers a good deal, knowing that it's going to go up, that is also taking more shares out of the float, which also prevents downward pressure.
Isn't it great to have Elon like actually aligned to try to get the stock going up?
Yeah.
He's on fire this whole week, and he's just he's making things happening now. I mean, not that he hasn't doing that. He's obviously been doing that, but boy, it's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's something where he's as someone said, the best allocator of capital ever, right? So if he has a lot of dry powder. I'm not saying he's going to load up like, he must sell everything. He must put all of $100 billion into it. I'm saying that with time purchases of like 20 or $40 billion, which is relative to a soon to be trillionaire, and CNBC called him a half trillionaire, right? That it's really big money in a massive couch cushion money.
It's couch cushion money for him. Yeah. It's like 10 grand for us.
Yeah.
A billion here, a billion there. Okay. So that's, where do you expect to see? Are you still somebody who's very optimistic about the stock price? Neither Brian and I do forecasts on stock, but do you have a suggestion what you think it'll be by the end of this year? It's now September
I think that there's enough, the 3 potentially bits of good news in October. October and the first week of November are the October 2nd volume numbers. Getting over 500,000 would be a clear win and a catalyst to get us through 440. There could be a good energy number in there too. I'm expecting something pretty good. And again, if it's like substantially better, surprising up, that's a good thing, which then leads into October 22nd, which would, realize the sophisticated people would run their model off of the October 2nd volume number. So then that they would know, here's what we expect on the financials on October 22nd. But that we could confirm, hey, profitability is back, growth is back, free cash flow is back, all those kinds of things. But then October 22nd, the actual call, as Simon Hale has mentioned, is that the BlackRocks and the other big companies, they listen to the tone of the meeting. Right? Not necessarily what is said, but how it is said, right? And I cannot see how that tone cannot be a super party. That basically Elon's super happy, the thing is coming through, Robo Taxi is close. I cannot see him being depressed on that call. So then that would be a good sign. And then we'd be a bump up. And then November 6th, same deal, annual meeting again, a happy call. He'll have gotten his pay package. He'd be saying, "I love you guys for giving my pay package," all that kind of stuff. And Robo Taxi so close, on and on, right? So those would be three positive things. And then leading into the end of the year for Q4, the the numbers on the cars should not be a disappointment. We should have another 500K because of overflow of the uh, sold 700, 500 tickets for the first month. China numbers looking good, firmed up numbers in Berlin. So there's no collapse there. And then you have the general end of year stuff, right? So again, um, there's no fleas or whatever, on the stock name, right? So
Mm-hmm.
then you always have the positive of, do we release the Kraken on Robotaxi, right? That's the question of, like, do we get to thousands of cars? Do we pull the safety drivers? FSD 14, do they come out? Is it so supers and all that kind of stuff? So seems like we have solid execution, so the floor can't be that bad. And then it's just, do we hit it out of the park on something to get us going crazy? And my view is yes, that Robotaxi is coming. Just a question
And
of
what
when.
is your number?
So my number would be um, 600 by the end of the year. Um, Although
Wow.
it could lead to, again, the January 2nd, January 22nd. So my wiggle room would be, if not end of the year, if we're still 500s, that we punch through 600 clearly by third week of January, because we'll have the two events. Volume number for Q4, which I'm assuming to be good, and then a good Q4 call. And then if Robotaxi happens in a big way, then we can go even higher. That we can go to 800 to 1,000, based on how good that is. And so it depends upon, how much are they really going crazy on it, and did they do something like those other two things, Cybercab release December or January, and the compact wire, stripped down wire, something like that. Those would be also things that, if they do get realized, people are anticipating it, but again, only we are looking so closely and saying that's going to happen soon. The rest of the street is not assuming that's going to happen. If they do think it's going to happen, it's going to be slow ramp, that kind of thing.
So a question I would have, I agree entirely that if we see wider robotaxi with more vehicles, if we see robotaxi without a chaperone or hitchhiker, if we see cybercab, for sure things could go a little crazy. In terms of good numbers for Q4, what are you, Brian, expecting for Q3, and what would be good for Q4?
My sorry, my range on Q3 is 490 to 515 or so, and my over and under is about 500 to 505. That's my rough expectation based upon what's happening
Wow.
in
You're
China.
very bullish. Over
Yes, I'm very
500.
bullish. Yeah,
My
yeah,
gosh. Over 500. All
over
right.
500. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But again, because I'm 240 in China, and I'm expecting really good numbers in the United States. So the relatively known numbers are the China number, and it looks like we have a pretty good peg on the Europe number, because Europe is just a bit over the 52K they did in Q2. So it's like 55, 60. Again, not really material, but not a cratering. And then China's at 240. So add those up, you're at just shy of 300. And then does Fremont decent numbers of 138, and then with the expiring tax credit, that could be 150, and then the Austin could also be on the high side again because of that. So then you know getting to 200 from Fremont and Austin is now, I think, in the card. So then that gets me to the 490-ish kind of level, and then possibly higher to that. But as we know, some ship with 5,000 cars didn't get someplace. Some other stuff happens. You get as Brian White does really good production numbers and stuff like that. You get a production number, and then did you do something inventory like that? You can swing, plus minus, 15, 20K in a heartbeat. So, so that's you don't know, but it's not. It's a plausible thing that happens to me. I'm expecting an inventory drawdown, but so that's why I'm looking at that number. And then for a Q4, I was really needing to see the YL start getting really going. I think they're holding back for whatever reasons for the only 800 to 1,000 cars per week on that. They have more orders to do more. They can make more, but is it because of some operational ramp thing? Like they have reasons why they haven't unleashed it. But I'm expecting that to go a lot more. So, if it was only 1,000 per week all the way through Q4, that's only 13,000. That would be a huge disappointment to me. And I'm expecting that to go to, I would be really disappointed if it didn't average 3K a week, which would be about 40,000 for the quarter. And I think it should get to 5K a week, which should be, about 60 with a 5 times, something like 60 some K of cars, which would then, ensure a really solid going from 240,000 production at a peak in China to up toward 300,000. And there have been months where they've had like 95,000.
No
So
cannibalism?
I'm expecting the cannibalism to cancel out and stuff. So I'm expecting, to be I'm talking about net numbers on it. There could be some cannibalism, but I would think that they could make more, that they will still hit towards whatever the
Wow.
peak is.
You're very bullish.
So,
I'm
well,
very
I'm
bullish.
I again, I love to
Gosh.
push back on Brian Wang's more optimistic things, but I can't on this one. I agree with you on YL. There is maybe a specific part that is in short supply that they have not been able to fully ramp. I agree with you that demand for it is higher than it appears from these just 3 weeks of sales.
Yeah.
It takes time to get things from the factory to the customer. And 3 weeks is not enough time. We don't know how many they've actually built. I assume they've built quite a few more than the 3,000 that have been delivered.
Yeah.
In Q4, I'm with you. You said 40,000. I'd say 30 to 40,000, and I won't be disappointed. Over 40,000 would not surprise me at all. And to answer your question, Herbert, about cannibalism, I'm going to agree with Brian on this too. I think, sure, there are plenty of people who would buy a Y, who will now buy a YL, but we've got so many export markets from Shanghai that can take up that slack that I'm not concerned about it. I think it'll work out. And if there's one thing we know about the Shanghai factory, it's that they can produce. And so the 17,300 number we saw last week, while a high for the quarter, is not a high for the plant. They've done better numbers before, and they will, I am reasonably confident, get back to those all-time highs once again, perhaps in Q4. And also worth noting for Q4, it's a historically strong quarter. Q4 is good for car sales. Q1, well, that's where the whole industry slows down a bit. But I am, hopeful for Q4. And then my hope into Q1 is that we do see, as Brian said, the introduction of those other models. Maybe it's the YL in Europe or the US or both. Maybe it's the more affordable in China, in Europe, in perhaps also in the US. And all of those can hopefully go after a little bit more addressable market, especially with the 7,500 going away in the US, slightly offset by the 0.25% rate cut, which will improve affordability. But Tesla certainly can't cut 7,500 out of the price of their car just to make it even to what it is today. Tesla doesn't have 7,500 in margin. If they wanted to just give cars away, they could have been doing that already. I think I am certainly optimistic for Q3, not as optimistic as Brian Wang. Q4, I am less pessimistic than the market, I think. And it's going to come down to what they announce, I think.
Okay, that's great. You're very bullish. Both of you sounds like you're on track. 600 is a little high, but when do you think we'll get to all-time highs? All-time highs is 487, something like that. When do we hit that? We're at 440 today, right?
I mean, anywhere between Tuesday and never. I don't know.
Yeah.
For me, I'm thinking it's October, that we can get there in October. Whether we hold it or not, like I said, those two catalysts are like good volume numbers. But then you can trade up, and with exuberance on that, and October 22nd, you can trade up, hit it, and then you can fall away, right?
Yeah.
So, but punching through 440 would let you trade up to that, and then any other good news. And also, there should be two more rate cuts, for Q4, right? So expecting two more rate cuts, so that'd be like, 75 basis points off, right? And other people have noticed that the last time, like 10 months ago, when we did go to all-time highs, that did involve a 50-point rate cut, right? And then a previous run, moving up 100 points, was involved in rate cuts. So the rate cuts is also a wind at our back.
Yeah. Rate cuts is like a switching from the macro to saying we're now risk on again. We can go ahead and invest in these growth companies, these story companies like Tesla. And then the good news this time around is that Tesla's core business, it needed to right itself. And if it wasn't, it was failing, it was negative. It doesn't matter, like Tesla's not a car company, but if the core business is not doing well, it's hard for people to invest in these stories, which aren't stories anymore, by the way, but that's what they still say that they are, right? Do you agree with that?
Yeah. It gives you cover. It's also like, again, safety nets for the stock. As part of it is, do I have the confidence? And if I know, okay, it's not going to crater because rate cuts, because car production is good, because all these other things are happening, then you're just left with, does the unknown really, really good stuff happen with Robo Taxi? It's like, I can buy safely knowing that things aren't going to crater. If, like a bad cratering now would be, okay, we reject a 440 and then we go to like 380 or something, right? And then we turn back up, right? For Tesla, that's a minor dip in the roller coaster, so that gives them confidence. Like my risk benefit thing is, negative 60 on the down, and then the up is like 300, right? So then I got a 5-to-1 ratio, right? So it's like, money would be ready to move in at the first sign of confirmations of things.
Well, I'll give it to you, Brian. Remember, you and I had a discussion last year, I think around this time, and you were saying last year you were expecting the stock to jump some ridiculous all-time high, the 444 that we hit last December. And you were like doing this, like everybody was so dejected that wasn't going to happen. And of course, November, the election, right? Was that last year?
Yeah, that was last year.
And they went up to 4 in January.
Doesn't count. That was the last big future.
Yeah, last big future.
That's the next big future.
Yeah.
Because of that, I'll let you have this prediction. This is fantastic. I appreciate you sticking your neck out, by the way. That is very important.
Yeah.
So let's talk Robo Taxi. This is a beautiful chart. I just need to share it again. I did a show with Brian on this, but Jonathan Stokes released this, which I thought was very revealing, because you know how we think, where's Robo Taxi today? Where's Tesla's Robo Taxi today? You'll say, well, they have Ride Hail in California and they have Austin, Texas. And that's basically it. And you're thinking, oh, they've made moves here and there, but they're tiny little signs. But when you look at it this way, it tells you a different story. Say, this is when they applied for permits. This is when they received the permit. This is when they did a job posting to have a safety driver in the car, a ride-hail service. This is when they start seeing those LiDAR cars mapping the roads with LiDAR to do the testing. And then this is when it's launched. And then when they expand the geofence, and then when they remove safety drivers. So in terms of launch, the only two is the Bay Area, California, and Texas. But then when you look at it based on, what's coming next? Look at these LiDAR test ones. You got Phoenix and Tempe, Arizona. That's great to know that they've seen that. And then you've got just now Dallas. Just yesterday, we saw photos of Dallas and San Antonio. These are the photos from 40 miles away from Dallas, and these are the LiDAR testing. So when they do that, you can take a look at this again. Typically, when you start seeing that, I don't know when you'll see launch, but it's kind of imminent when you see that. It's imminent. So you got San Antonio, you got Dallas, and you got Phoenix and Tempe that could be next.
And those are all big markets. It's not like we're talking about quiet little suburban test areas. We're talking about major metros where a lot of people live. When it is profitable to expand coverage within the existing geofences, it's going to be insane because there's a lot of people there. And I think adoption will move quickly. This is an easy sell. This is as easy as moving from Yahoo search to Google search. The first time you use it, you understand the difference, and it is something you don't want to go back to because the new way is just plain better. Between rider safety, between no awkward small chat, no tip expectation, it's just everything is better about it.
I'm going to play around with my presentation here just to see if I can make it bigger. I don't know why it's not. Oh, that's nice.
Okay.
I don't know. How come it's not making it bigger?
It's bigger. It's bigger to me. It's bigger to me.
I guess it's bigger, but anyways, okay. I'm
That's
just wondering
fun.
why it's tiny.
Yeah.
Three little bubbles.
In terms of that previous statement that Tesla and Elon made about having Robo Taxi kind of available to
Yeah.
half the population of the United States, like if they do get pilots out in these cities, right, then added up, you're not far from the ballpark of,
Don't you think
half
they'll
of the
need? Oh,
population.
because you're including New York, because New York's there.
All right,
You got
again,
Florida, California.
running
New York.
that detailed numbers, it may not be quite there. Maybe it's only 45% or 40, but it's not. And then you have to not go for the 330 million people in the United States. You're talking about urban areas, half of the urban area population, right? You have to do a few things to kind of make it fit, right?
Mental gymnastics, sure.
Mental gymnastics, right? But it's not a complete miss, right? That if I
Well, yeah, and it's your definition, right? If you're talking, ride hail service, as in you got to have 100,000 cars per city, but that's not what we're going to have. Just going to, but okay. Here's what's really cool about this chart too. Another one is that you'll notice that not only are they by state, but multiple cities in a state. So yes, Waymo's in Texas, they're in Austin, but they're not in Dallas or Houston or San Antonio.
Right.
So when they launch there, when Tesla does it, you can pretty well take a ride hail or take a eventually a robo taxi and go to any of these. It's like the entire state pretty well, right? I mean, it's
right.
You can see here already, Los Angeles, when they add that. Oh, you probably can. I don't know if you can drive from Los Angeles to San Diego, but boy, that would be crazy if they did that.
It would only take you 9 hours, depending on the time of day. So one thing I wanted to talk about along these lines is just FSD internationally. In Australia, they have announced that soon you will be able to purchase the subscription rather than the full retail cost of it up front. The retail cost is a real bar for entry for a lot of people. I've talked to people in Australia who say as soon as subscriptions become available for purchase, they will subscribe, check it out, see how it goes. I know people who've already gone to showrooms just so they can experience it and determine if it's for them. If we get a free sample when the subscription becomes available and then people have the opportunity to subscribe, I think there would be a real boost to the stock. I think there'd be a lot of confidence buyers who are seeing what this is and understanding it for the first time. I think we would also see a lot of revenue coming in, which all counts, unlike the FSD revenue from a sale where you have to defer it and only count part of it until it is complete. Subscriptions count within the month. Last year I was talking with Jan from Tesla Fix, and he was saying, Brian, you don't understand. In the US, you have all this confidence because you have the Cybertruck, you have FSD. Outside in Europe, we just have the 3 and Y and autopilot. It's not the same. So once the rest of the world gets to see what we can see every day, there could be not just retail stock buyers, but institutional ones around the world who are saying, I get it now. Thoughts on that?
I agree. I mean, I think that, okay, I'm just looking it up. The date that Tesla rolled out a 30-day free trial of FSD supervised was April of 2024, mid-April 2024. And a lot of people tried out the 30 days. And I think it was way too early. Like, that's April 2024. If they do that now with how good the FSD is now, it's going to be a huge jump. And it's a totally different thing. I think they rolled it out too early. So more of that today would make a big difference.
And it would, to Brian White's point, it would increase sales in Europe and in Asia and in Australia to have those markets fully experience the FSD. Like, I think China had a big boost, partially because of they finally got a real version of FSD, which they didn't have before. So having a recovery of sales there, I think, was part of that was the FSD story for them.
Mm-hmm. What's the next market for FSD to roll out? Because, yeah, while we're talking Robo Taxi at the same time, FSD's rolling out country by country.
There's a lot of movement.
City.
There's a lot of movement in Europe. We've seen, I think the Netherlands could be the next market. They were one of the first to be doing pilots, to be doing the legal groundwork to make it possible. We've also seen some of the, Nordic countries doing that as well. But I think once there's a foot in the door in Europe, the rest of Europe will follow fairly quickly. That would be my guess. A lot of the developing markets are too small and perhaps too risky or difficult.
Oh, I want to show this comment back to the Elon investing, because I thought it might be right. You tell me. He's saying when Elon invests, he's not just showing strength and support for Tesla. He's also taking liquidity away from the stock. It's like a buyback. True?
Yep. I would say so. But again, it takes it out of the float. It's not a buyback, but considering those shares are locked up for his lifetime at least, that would be, and even beyond that, I imagine, if when he dies, it would go into a trust of some sort where it would be very, very slowly doled out rather than all at once.
Two major stocks that have had a version of that are Apple, which constantly does share buybacks, even though they've had like only 10 to 15% growth. Weak growth for a big, Mag 7, big super stock. And then they made up for that by $600 billion of stock buyback, just insane amounts of stock buyback, and then reducing the float. And then Oracle, over the last 20 years, has done a lot of stock buybacks, as well as issuing shares to for CEO compensation to Larry Ellison. So Larry Ellison went from 20% Oracle to 41% Oracle over the course of 20 years because he picked up a percentage every year. And the stock went up, I think, 5-10 times over that period. So a constant draining away of the float gives the CEO more, depending how you do it, whether it's via compensation plan or whether, I don't think anyone has had the kind of money to do serious buying of their own shares. It could have to be a smaller company, not yet to a big point, but then you don't have other CEOs who have $170 billion in Tesla valuation, $165 billion in SpaceX, and $100 billion in XAI. So you have another guy who's got like 3 mega corporations, and that one they're all going to go bigger. They each become multi-trillion-dollar things. So the amount of financial firepower he has is just like a unique thing that you don't get to see. It's like a triple John D. Rockefeller.
But keep in mind, he's not stopping. He will be building new companies. He's not going to stop at 6. Yeah. Every couple of years, there'll be another announcement of a brand new company.
Mhm.
So he'll need that money for those reasons as well.
But those companies don't need huge amounts of money because, as we were discussing with the always bet with Elon, when he creates a new venture, everyone's excited to get involved.
True. But
If he,
XAI needs a lot of money, though.
well, XAI is a larger machine than anything else. I mean, it could gobble through more than SpaceX did in its early days. But the equation is, once you've got the good engineers, the good algorithm, then you've got to brute force it, and that's just money. You just need money to do that.
But also the Musk economy of these companies, the way they interact, that um, XAI, talking about, he's saying, Grok 5 could be AGI, and Grok 5 comes up before the end of this year. So in terms of the valuation, that one, if it just clearly gets ahead of OpenAI and Anthropic and Google, OpenAI raised at 300 billion, and it's talking about raising at 500 billion. So if you pull ahead, instead of being only 200 billion, then you can go to 600 billion or a trillion. It's kind of like the numbers on the valuation of the AI companies is crazy, and it's based upon who gets to AGI, artificial general intelligence, who gets to super intelligence first. So as insane as it could be, as world changing as it could be, it's kind of like, if it happened, Elon's saying it's a, not for sure, but a significant chance that it happens, then, and that's just by the end of the year, he's going to complete making the bigger Memphis, Colossus 2 data center, from 500,000 ships up to 1 million plus in 2026. So then they still have all of that time in these rapid cycles to do something. And having that, if he does have the best AI in the world, it will be some, and we could vote number 6 to buy some, Tesla buy some XAI. So it's
No,
going
no,
to
not
be
number 6, dude. Number
six?
7.
Oh, it's number
Please
7. Sorry.
do not say number 6. So
Okay.
this is the list here. I want to ask you, Brian, how are you, or if you're willing to share, how are you going to vote on number 7, which is giving Tesla authorization to invest in XAI?
Yeah.
This is the list of proposals. All of us who are Tesla shareholders, you should already have been receiving emails from your broker. You should have one email per account that you have that has a control number. You can click in and vote already. If you haven't received it, just wait a few more days. But most our brokers are already sending it out to us. But this is Alexander Mertz, how she's going to vote, but she gives you the page number so you can go and take a look and read about these proposals. These are the ones that the Tesla board has recommended. Please vote on favor of whatever the Tesla board wants, because that is what's good for the company. But of course, there's this 2025 CEO Performance Award. That's critical. Number 4, vote yes on that. You've got to vote no on number 6. That's our recommendation. You can decide for yourself. But boy, if you change everything to 66.66%, then nothing we ever want can ever be voted that way, and it won't work out. So, it will allow activist shareholders to come in and have real control of the company as well. So we don't want that to happen. But number 7 is authorization to invest in XAI. We don't know the deal terms. We just are saying, yeah, Tesla, we give you authorization to invest if you say yes. How are you going to vote in that, Brian?
So I've already voted. I voted exactly as this table shows, and I voted yes for authorization to invest in XAI. And for me,
What's your reasoning? Yeah.
well, I was wanting them to invest in XAI like, a year or whatever longer ago, when they first mentioned maybe they could do that. So I knew that XAI would succeed, and that it's, so basically I want to have a direct piece of possible AGI superintelligence. That people say, well, we already got Tesla bot and stuff like that, but it's like, superintelligence is pretty darn important, and we don't have a direct financial thing. We kind of an indirect kind of thing, and I want that to happen. And the other reason is that because of the fact that they're separate companies and things are kind of moving around, I would, by having some ownership there, there's no kind of like no lawsuit about, hey, you gave chip from Tesla over to XAI, because you're not building them in your data center yet for Tesla, so you're building it over to XAI. So that gets that off the table because, hey, well, we own piece of each other. It's all good. We're all part of one big happy super conglomerate. So that is another reason. So one, I believe it has a significant chance of being the one to develop superintelligence, and I think that that is insanely valuable, and that I want to have more piece of that.
Yeah, Brian, what do you say to the people who are saying that actually Tesla has a chance to create the superintelligence? In fact, the reason why Tesla does is because they uniquely, no one else except for the company Tesla has access to real world data. This is like all the videos from all the cars, but now soon all these videos coming from these bots that are out there capturing that data. That is the data that none of the other LLMs have access to, the multimodal models out there, and Tesla will have it. And so if Tesla has that and embodied AI, the physical AI is what's going to create AGI, a superintelligence, not these LLMs that are sitting inside a computer. And so in some cases, well, maybe Tesla's the one that's going to create a superintelligence. Do you agree with that?
So again, it's all part of one thing, that you have super intelligent robots as well as the digital brain and various aspects of the digital superintelligence, that I don't want to split that up. I want all of it. I want the superintelligence of the physical Tesla bot, and I want the superintelligence of the digital side, right? So the fact that I have a big chunk of it is not enough. I want the whole thing, right? So that's why, because
Makes
again,
sense.
how it splits up in terms of like how much value falls here, how much value falls here. If I got both parts, then I don't have to worry about it. It's like if it falls over there, I got it. If it falls over here, I got it. So yeah.
Yeah, I think Elon wants in Tesla to vote in XAI because you saw in the last earnings call he interrupted when the CFO came out and says, "Oh, that's not appropriate for this call." He interrupted, says, the shareholders have to be the one to submit a proposal. Alexander Mertz reacted right away and made sure that we actually have a proposal because it was only 3 days away, by the way,
Right.
from that earnings call. The deadline was 3 days away, and she was able to get us in there, and that's why this proposal is even on this list. But I don't know, based on Robin Denholm, the chairwoman, I don't know if she's actually fully supporting this. In fact, if you parse out her words, it doesn't sound like she is.
In the actual voting thing, which I did, they say board recommendation. On the board recommendation on this, they have a no recommendation. They don't say
Right.
say no. They don't say yes.
But
They just said,
they have to say no, because if they said yes, then that opens up for lawsuits. Because
yeah.
I think that there's, because Elon owns both companies, so they have to kind of like, the board has to say, okay, no
Do what
recommendation.
you want. Yeah.
It's up to you shareholders to decide this, and then they get passed through all these potential legal issues that, yes, we are fully aware that Elon owns XAI and Elon has a significant chunk of Tesla, and we still want this to happen. Right? I think that that's what's happening there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. But I voted for it. I want it to happen. I think it'd be great.
Yeah, I was curious what you thought. Yeah.
I haven't voted yet because I haven't gotten anything from JP Morgan. And I'm sure I could log in and check if it's already there. But I've got a little bit of time left to do it, and not much time today. I'm very busy. So I will get on that. And I haven't researched all of them to know where I will be diverging from the recommendations, or if I will be. But I do think it's important for everyone who has shares to vote, even if you disagree with those recommendations. It is your right. It is your privilege. It is the reason that the shareholder structure exists, is so that you have a voice, because you, along with Elon Musk, own like 13% of the company. And that's not something to overlook. I will say, you know what? I'm about 30 seconds early, but when this show ends in just 10 minutes, there will be an after show. If you're watching this on my channel or Herbert's channel live, it will redirect to the after show. If you're catching it on the replay, it will not. You can just go to my channel and find it there. Maybe I'll put it in the description if I remember, where I will do my best to answer as many of the questions, concerns, and comments that came in during the show. Brian Wang, a pleasure as always. Good to see you. My slightly less evil twin. And talk to you guys in a bit.
So you're both evil. Okay.
Yeah.
I got that just now. I just got that now. Okay. All right, slightly less evil. Thanks, Brian. We'll see you there. All right. Well, so Brian, you're very bullish. You're very bullish. A little bit. All these things have to happen in order for this to happen. Which of these catalysts that you've mentioned are you least likely? The one that you least think that they can accomplish, like could go sideways. Do you think, are you that 100% confident in FSD 14, 100% confident in Robo Taxi, 100% confident in the new more photo vehicle, those kind of catalysts that you've mentioned?
Well, the thing is, the rollout of Robo Taxi can go sideways. If we have an accident, statistically, it can happen. It's something that is, it's not perfect. So that would be potentially a huge pothole to hit where suddenly the stock would take a massive dump right from that. So that's something where it's a two-edged sword, right? That pushing ahead when they're ready is important, and that can be something that could then shoot it up. But then in terms of like holding those levels, if suddenly there are accidents, especially if someone died, multiple people died or something like that, that would be a huge setback. And that's what Tesla's trying to avoid by being extra paranoid cautious right now. And so that's where everything can go badly. Other thing that might not happen would be, Cybercab could be delayed, into Q2 or something, or even beyond, right? Like they're saying they want to get up by the end of the year, but that could slip. They said they were going to get up FSD 14 out this month, and then maybe, Elon said that maybe that doesn't happen until, he didn't say it specifically, but he's saying at the All-In Summit that would be done over the next few months. So that mean that it comes out and then starts rolling out and takes a couple of months, or does that mean that they don't start rolling out for a month? It's unclear what's happening. So delays on these things could happen at any point.
Yeah, I think the way we interpreted that, Jeff Lutz, is that they'll release FSD version 14, but there'll be many different point releases afterwards. And so when he said FSD 14 will be rolled out over the next several months, that could be the way you interpret that.
Yeah.
As opposed to saying it's no longer going to roll out this month. Because right now we're hearing that employees are testing this pretty good, like not validated, but it's not just a rumor. That Tesla employees are actually testing FSD version 14 now. And then there's a new rumor, Omar was saying that he thinks that they're trying to get FSD version 14 out before the shareholder meeting, November 6th. Kind of makes sense, right? But again, they may not rush it, right? So who knows if that actually happens.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's many things that are up for interpretation, right? And things could change, like they find something that is not quite smooth or working right, then they say, okay, we got to polish it up. The employees did find something, we got to polish it up, and then that delays things. Just like, being abundantly cautious in Austin. I would have been, if you said, we would only have 20 or 30 or whatever cars in Austin in September, and we're talking in June, I would have been really, I'm surprised. I would have thought you had more. And then especially if you increase the service area 10 times or something like that to like 300 square miles, and then it's still so small in terms of the number of cars, I would say that makes no sense at all. But, here we are. So, so until it does happen, which goes to the point of a lot of the institutions and stuff are waiting for the clear signal. They're saying, I want more. It's all looking good, and so we're hanging at 440. When that actually happens, I can see, yes, this is the evidence that it happens, then we push up, because then the Kathy Wood scenario gets on the table.
Yeah.
And then once we get past Waymo, 1,500, 2,000 cars, no safety driver, safety monitor, then it's like there's no Waymo somehow ahead. If you have fewer cars,
Yeah, I don't know.
how does that work?
I don't think that's slowing. I don't think that that's a drag on the stock. When is your models? When are you projecting that they will remove the safety driver, the safety rider in the car?
I'm thinking it's connected to FSD 14 going really, really well. That they would merge the Austin software with FSD 14. And I think that takes,
I
assuming
mean,
that you're,
they could be doing that now,
they could be doing that now, right? But I think it takes a month or two to
right?
polish it up and get it tested out to do it. So then I would say, I would expect it to be over and under November. It could be as early as October, but
You're very
I think
bullish.
November. Yeah.
I'm saying January, and
Yeah.
most of the people I'm talking to, they're still shooting for late December. You're the only one that says November.
Yeah. Again, but it could.
No,
it-
safety
it-
rider being removed from the. It's like FSC 14 needs to come out, and we need to all be playing with it for several months before they remove the safety rider. There's no need for them to rush it. I don't think.
no, yeah, right.
Honestly.
You don't need to rush it. Yeah. So yeah, your pushback makes me say, okay, yeah, December, January makes more sense, right?
Yeah. I mean, like what their strategy now is kind of clear. It's going to be ride hail services, a human supervised FSD in all these cities, especially the first time you roll it out. You need that for months just to get the operations in place, get every place mapped and be certain, understand any weird spots of where you're parking, not parking. You need to learn where it's safe to park and not. All that needs several months of a safety ride driver supervised. That's how this is going to be rolled out. And then later move them and then later remove them. But there's no need to do it.
Yeah, yeah, right. So they said we have to avoid the scenario of the big accident because that would be the huge thing. So being slower, more cautious, makes sense. I would say more the capability and the safety could happen in order, but to your point, that they would make sure that they would do more to verify.
Yeah. The one thing could be like, again, it's Elon, right? Elon will say things that we know that he's sometimes too optimistic, but he said that we should get to unsupervised FSD this year.
Right.
Unsupervised FSD, my interpretation was that me and you driving our cars wherever we live, I'm in Washington State, that I can, when they roll this out, it won't be like to everybody, but they'll just pick certain states at first and roll it out. But you can sleep in your car. If they are willing to say that, then at that point, yeah, you don't need a safety rider anymore at that point either.
Right.
So, yeah.
But to your point then, if they get the FSD out where we're experiencing the quality FSD that is the Robo Taxi version, you're saying that would happen before. We will experience it. We will know that they're just holding back on removing the driver for the safety reasons, but we're giving it to you.
Yeah,
so that,
we're all. Yeah. Look what's happening now. I mean, that's
right.
What's happening now. I've had. I don't know. People are probably tired of hearing me say that, but 7 months of no critical disengagements in 4 different cities across Canada and Portland and other places. So it's like for me, it's been flawless. And then wait till FSD 14. So we're already seeing how good this is, and it's just their reasoning of why they don't remove it is, I think, less about safety and a lot more just about, of course it's safety, but it's a lot more about operations, and they just want to make sure they got every little edge case nailed. Because that's what Elon was saying, right? It's like you got to drive 15,000 miles to have one human driver's experience. You need to have like 100 of those, 1,000 of those. And so you need to, you have to drive for many, many, many miles before you can actually even know whether or not you're at the 9.9s, whatever that you need to get to. So,
right.
Oh man, this is fun. I mean, everything's looking good. So everything looks like you're very bullish. Things are looking positive. I mean, even the macros turning in your way too. So I just just try to be cautious because we've been burned a few times now, right?
We have been burned, right? But that goes to my theory of safety net developments, right? The
Right.
fact
The
that
floors.
the
Yeah.
floors, yeah, the fact that we got, dropping interest rates, the fact that the numbers, even if I'm wrong, if on the Q2 numbers, it's not
Hmm.
500, it's only 480, right? The fact that it's well high and above the previous all-time high of like 479 or something like that, or in that range, it takes the sting out of shrinking car sales, right? It takes the
Hmm.
sting out. Although the bears will always say, well, that was just Q3, $7,500 tax credit going away. Let's see Q4, right? So, but it takes it weakens all the bear arguments of like why it's no good. So, and we went over all those things. So it's like there's a lot of safety nets on the stock right now that prevent it
Yeah.
from going down. It doesn't mean it can't turn, but
We'll leave it there. Great,
mhm.
super uber bull, Brian
Move
Wang.
on.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much for your joining us today. Stay on the channel, and you'll get redirected to Brian. He does fantastic Q&A, and he explores a little bit further than we did today. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.